Well, I'm Karen Lakus. I'm a historical interpreter for Cleveland Metroparks, and we are at the bank of the Cuyahoga River in Cuyahoga Heights, looking over at Cleveland.
And so talk to us about these eagles that are here, Karen. We've got a grouping of them that all of a sudden everybody's hearing about. Why all of a sudden we have a bunch of eagles in this location?
Well, it's not totally clear why they're here, but the reason we believe they're here is for food. Because when the weather turns cold, the eagles will go migrate somewhere where they can find a good amount of food, and they are finding a good amount of food in our nice, clean, healthy Cuyahoga River. This is the industrial valley. We're surrounded by industry. The water hasn't always been the healthiest, but it's much healthier now than it was 50 years ago plus. And so we're seeing the wildlife return, and the bald eagles have really made a comeback in this area. We have a nesting pair in this park, and they've been here the whole time. In 1999, when this park opened, they first noticed bald eagles coming here, but never in the numbers that they are coming here now, and never nesting here. So this was the first year that we know of that we had a successful nesting pair in this park. And this winter we have seen a dozen to 2 dozen daily in this park. The river was considered dead 50 years ago, and nothing could live in it or wanted to live near it. And now there is a healthy fish population, which is what eagles basically eat, is fish. They'll eat ducks and other things too, but fish is their main food. And so clearly we must have clean water, and if we have a healthy fish population for the eagles to eat. We're along the Ohio and Erie Canal towpath. We are in the northern part of the towpath in Cuyahoga Heights, where it heads up to Harvard Road, which is our northern border of Ohio and Erie Canal Reservation. So our canal reservation goes from Brockside Road to Harvard, and we have various trailheads along the way, including the Canalway Center. You can park at any of those to access the trail, or you can ride your bike. And you can see eagles pretty much all along the river corridor. So no matter where you are, just look at the river and you'll probably, have a pretty good chance of seeing an eagle right now. And they will disperse as, nesting season comes closer. Our eagles will become more territorial and not want these other eagles here to share, the resources. But also they'll go off to find their own places to nest, or to hang out until they're ready to nest, until they're old enough, because they don't nest until they're 4 or 5 years old. We found our nest here in May of 2017, and we just saw by accident, one day we saw an eagle, and then we noticed that the eagle had a stick in its mouth, which is not usual behavior when an eagle's just flying by. So followed it and saw it land on the nest. And this nest had been observed for many years. It was a red-tailed hawk nest, and the eagles were now taking it over and using it. So we watched these eagles get this nest ready, but it was at that point kind of late in nesting season when we saw them, and we did not observe them having a nest, staying there, sitting on eggs, doing any of that. So we watched them all through 2017, and we saw them all winter doing their courtship displays up in the sky. And then in the spring, we watched as they tended the nest and eventually laid eggs and sat on eggs, which took them a while. So some of the other eagles in the area had already hatched their eggs by the time ours were actually laying eggs. Ours were pretty late. But by Memorial Day weekend, is when the leaves were just about ready to cover the nest, we were able to see 2 little fuzzy gray heads, and we knew we had eaglets. So we waited until, and you can't see too much in the summer. The nest is covered up and they're not real active. So we waited till fall, but by the end of August, we were able to see 2 juvenile eagles flying together near the nest site, and, could assume that those are the eagles from that nest, because it was about 10 weeks, which is about when they leave the nest to go fly on their own. They're going to be big brown birds, just kind of flying around for a few years until they are old enough to get their beautiful white feathers on their heads and their beautiful dark feathers on their bodies, and then that's when they'll mate and they'll make a nest of their own. The Cuyahoga River being cleaner and coming back is akin to the eagles. coming back, because in 1979 we only had 4 nesting pairs of eagles in the state of Ohio, and now we have upwards of 220 nesting pairs in the state of Ohio. So you have the river that caught fire in 1969, and now it's clean and able to sustain life. So the two of them have made this amazing recovery together, and so we're able to just be a perfect example of that here in this park with the eagles and with the river. We will be offering at Ohio and Erie Canal Reservation regular walks to see the eagles throughout the winter, but also in the spring. And we do also have a large enclosed golf cart that carries 7 passengers that we will start that up in the spring as well. In April until about October, we will take people for rides so we can bring you down here to see the nest. So even if you're not able to walk the distance, it is about a mile from Canalway Center and about a mile from the Harvard Trailhead. If you're not able to walk it in the spring, we will start up our tours, our towpath tours, where we'll bring you on a ride down.
And they would find more information on those tours at
www.clevelandmetroparks.com.